Can you hear us? Yes. All right. Good afternoon.
Yeah, welcome. Hope you all have been enjoying the conference so far. And this is going to be exciting for us to go through this talk because we've actually never given this talk before. This is brand new.
The honest no BS is that we finished the slides 5 minutes ago. But we've been thinking about this for a while now. But,
yeah, this whole idea of the enterprise brain that we're going to go through today. So that we found the right words to kind of describe it. So just a little bit about us. I'm Tim Gasper. I lead product for formerly Data.World, now catalog and governance at ServiceNow.
And I'm Juan Cicada. I'm the principal researcher at ServiceNow, formerly the head of the AI lab at Data.World. For folks who don't know, Tim and I have been doing our podcast, Catalog and Cocktails, for now 5 years. We took a quick, we took a break for a couple of months because we've been kind of busy with an acquisition that happened. But we're actually starting back next week, so we got a lot of great lineup. I mean, a couple of Tiankais here, former guests. I think I saw Ole walk in, former guest. So a lot of the who's of data have been on the podcast. So check it out if you hadn't known about it.
Yeah, so follow along.
So let's kick it off. To be honest, I even forgot the title of this talk. I know I had the word data in it, the word AI in it, right? But we all are talking about AI, how it's going to change and stuff. And I think one of the things to be very specific of how things are expected to change and are actually changing today is we need to do more with less. What does that actually mean? Is that if we look at this graphic, I want to be able to increase something, at the same time I want to be able to decrease. For example, we are going to be increasing our customers. We want more customers, which means we're going to have more issues, more tickets and stuff to be able to resolve. I want to decrease the amount of people that I need to have in my company doing customer support. I want to decrease the amount of budget I need to be able to go support that. My company is growing, we are going to increase the number of employees. But I am going to decrease the support that I needed to be able to have to manage all those employees. This is what I mean about doing more with less. And I'm not, and what's really fascinating is that we're seeing this today with our customers. We see this today inside of ServiceNow too. ServiceNow is a company that has 27,000 employees. How we are increasing and how we are leveraging our own platform to be able to go do more with less. So the message for everybody here, you're working in data, how are you helping your organization do more with less? How are you helping your every single different operating functions to do more with less? And we need to be able to be very specific and tangible around that.
Mm-hmm. So let's start with talking about where we are today, right? So some things are happening in our world, in our data world. One, mundane data tasks are getting automated, right? We're able to use things like Claude Code and Codex and Copilot to be able to do a lot more of these data tasks in a streamlined and an augmented way, in some cases a fully automated way. And as we've talked to our customers and many other companies out there doing data, things like data migrations, which used to be, it didn't make sense to even approach it. There was certain ROI not being achieved. Not only is there ROI, but these projects are happening at 20% the time that they would happen in the past. So pretty major streamlining of a lot of these different tasks around testing, around migration, around developing different transformations is getting vastly accelerated. It's allowing data engineers and data analysts to do a lot more than they've been able to do before. Right? And this is all very directly connected to the role that AI agents are playing and helping with that.
Remember, so writing code is being automated. This is already happening today. Mm-hmm. Now, we're seeing this so much right now about like software being migration, right? People have not had before kind of the ROI to go do mainframe migration. It is happening now. We're building data pipelines, that is now being automated. You can do that. However, it's being automated if and only if you actually have
the metadata, the semantics, and the context, right? So everyone, I think it's probably one of the biggest themes that you're hearing in the conference is that metadata and context is one of the key missing ingredients to help with AI. Folks are now realizing that, right? And whether you're implementing something more custom or you're leveraging something more off the shelf, like a catalog or something like that that can help you, getting metadata, semantics, and context in order, this is happening, right? And everyone's realizing how important it is and how it's going to support your AI strategy.
And we're now, I mean, these are the buzzwords, right? The semantic layers are talking around things. We're hearing ontologies, we're hearing knowledge graphs, context layers, all this stuff. This isn't new. Right? We've been doing metadata management, we've been doing stuff, but it's always kind of been underneath the rug that we streak. But now it's coming up in center because we want to be able, because of AI, because of these large language models that needs that particular context. And it's something that it's really, I want you to all think, because it's such a big buzzword, it's really important for everybody who in the audience, look, and they're working with vendors and customers and partners, really figure out how much are they just kind of getting on the bandwagon, or they actually have a history around this. Because again, this isn't new. Everybody's now talking about context layers and this stuff, but these technologies about managing semantics, managing metadata, managing knowledge graphs is not new. So this is where we need to kind of really figure out where the hype is, and I want you to really push out saying, okay, are you just saying that for hype, or actually go inside and tell me the details, show me your pedigree, show me your background around this stuff. This is what I really want you to push the people out here in the industry. And can we take questions at the end? I appreciate that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we'll save the questions for the end if that's okay. Yeah. All right, because they'll pass the microphone around. So two things to add really quick. One is that data teams are the ones who are getting pulled into helping make this happen, right? So that's important, right? Secondly is that you're probably hearing lots of terms, right? Knowledge graphs, enterprise ontologies, semantic layers, context engineering. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you may want to approach managing context, but what's important is that this is all related. These are just different technologies and approaches to try to manage this information. And then third thing that's happening right now is that there is a premium on elevating from just the plumbing work of data to actually having business impact, right? So a lot of the themes you're hearing in the conference are around what is the ROI of the data team, right? How are they actually contributing?
This has been a theme for years now. We always get the irony of like, it's hard to present our ROI. The irony that as data people, you can't present your own ROI, that is really dumb. I mean, if that's your argument, that's pathetic, to be honest. We cannot live like that.
And data teams are moving from the analytical to the operational.
And so here's the other thing we need to think about. As data analytics, the honest no BS is that analytics, as much as we wanted to think it is important, it's not really that mission critical. If you unplug analytics, people will complain, people will be sad, but the businesses will still continue functioning. So the question is, how are we doing this work that it is mission critical? And this is what you need to go, this is what we need to start thinking about, and that's what we're heading towards.
So, more is changing.
Things are
There's a
changing.
shift happening.
So, 5 years ago, right, the whole modern data stack was a thing. Everywhere is the modern data stack. And I kindly say it, down with the modern data stack, long live the modern consolidation. So the big trend here is that we went from a world of like, we had these old school monoliths. The pendulum swung because these are old, these are slow, they're not innovating, and we want to be able to go do more. And then you have the pandemic, ZERP, so much money, we started generating a bunch of more and more companies, feature categories, but effectively every single feature became a category. And then a company said, oh, I need to go solve this problem. You're telling me I need to go buy 5, 6, 7, 8 different tools, and I need to procure all these tools, and each one, they need to get to their valuation, and everyone wants to go sell you an enterprise tool for $100,000 or something? This is ridiculous. The market itself said, it's not going to sustain it. So the pendulum is swinging back, and now we're seeing this whole market consolidation. Now, two things what's happening, the way we perceive this is bottoms up and top down. Bottoms up, you're seeing the Snowflakes and the Databricks of the world actually taking those features themselves and incorporating them. Actually, they're not even acquiring, they're actually building themselves. So that's all the data, metadata features that they're seeing. So that's happening. You go at the top where the business applications are, they're actually also acquiring. ServiceNow acquired Data.World. Salesforce acquired Informatica. right? SAP partners with Databricks to do their analytics. So you're starting to go see this convergence of being more of the on the data platforms, bringing all the features, and then from the top, the business applications started to get more into the analytics. Actually, what was the big acquisitions that Snowflake and Databricks did this year? They both acquired transactional Postgres. They're like, wait, you're a database company, you're acquiring another database. It's because they're also wanting, they're analytical systems. Your operations, your mission critical stuff does not run on analytics, it runs on transactional operational systems. So they are acquiring because they want to get up. And they're going to be doing this by offering all of these AI agents which are becoming operational. So we're going to be seeing this kind of convergence, and there's going to be less tools, there are going to be more platforms around that. And the platforms that the data platforms who want to go up, and then you have the business platforms where your businesses run, and they want to go down. Again, if you unplug Snowflake or Databricks, yeah, it's bad, but if you unplug a Salesforce, a ServiceNow, an SAP, your business doesn't run, and you are dead in the water.
And I think one more thing to add here is that these experiences, as we've implemented the modern data stack, have become very disjointed, right? You've got like 10 different tools that you're trying to make work well together. We need to find a way to either make them work very well together in a concerted way, or just have less tools.
So the next thing we're seeing, this shouldn't be a surprise, is that data is now not just structured, it is everything. And this is going to be a big shift if we as the data people, the data teams, the data communities really want to own and be at the center of this AI revolution. We need to stop thinking that this is just structured, and it is everything. And it's not just text; it's a bunch of other things going on right now. I'm not implying that then the value is being shifted into other things like text and stuff, but there's just more things to be managed. And by the way, I don't have answers. These are the observations that we need to go figure out. What's going to happen between data management and knowledge management? People do things in SharePoints and CMSs, right? That's why we're seeing now an increase of the library sciences community coming in, because they've been managing a lot of that type of information before too. We talk about data quality and all the properties of data quality more for structured. What does data quality mean for unstructured? What does unstructured data governance mean? Like, these are the open questions we're going to have. And what's really going to be interesting is that we're going to be saying, oh, we need more technology about this stuff, but then remember, where's the consolidation happening and things? So I think also really important is to see your vendors, your platforms, what are they offering with respect to this, that data is now everything.
Yep, and we're going to have to solve these questions as data teams, right? Like people, you maybe are already experiencing this, folks in your company saying, hey, how can we catalog and govern our SharePoint files, right? And it's like, well, we didn't have to do that before, and now all of a sudden we have to worry about that, right? So, but AI is pushing us in that direction.
And I think what unites everything here is that context, is that metadata, is that knowledge around things, because that is going to be connected to all types of data. Mm-hmm. So the third one, as I've been pushing a lot here, is this shift from analytics to both operational analytics. Again, the keynote yesterday, Mike Ferguson really clearly started showing this, is that we need to have this tie between it. And now, and again, as I'm presenting before, is analytics, we have not been that mission critical. Operations are what is mission critical. And what we're seeing now is that need to be able to go connect the stuff together. So, I love how we always say we need to get insights faster, right, so forth. But when you present a dashboard, when you present the chat, and I ask my question and I get an answer back, what the heck am I doing with that answer? What am I acting on? How am I acting on that stuff? That is the missing link, that feedback that we have to go do, because there is some insight that happens, and at this moment you get a dashboard, then I look at it, and then I go talk to somebody. This needs to be connected, and that's how we're going to have this automated, these workflows. But for that, we also need to understand how our business processes work and how we're going to be able to connect that stuff. So I think this is one of the things that is a shift, and we don't work in the operational world. We work in the analytical world, and this, for us to really go own this AI revolution, we need to start doing both.
Mm-hmm. And even just technically, things are getting a bit muddy, like kind of streaming versus batch, real time versus reactive kind of analytics. A lot of these things need to happen faster or slower depending on the use case, and you want to reuse that logic as much as possible. So as much, you actually see the technology starting to consolidate more in terms of multimodal databases, being able to use things like Kafka to not just process real-time data, but actually do like streaming batches and things like that. So these things are all converging, and it's not necessarily forcing you into the same kinds of technical trade-offs that you used to have to make.
And also part is now we're seeing OLAP, OLTP, all these hybrid things. This is all happening. I mean, you see why also these Snowflake and Databricks are acquiring OLTP companies, right, to do this. So this is what's happening. So how are you all helping support the operations?
Yeah.
So
does this jive with the current world we live in?
So the question or the observation here is that we live in our bubble. This is our bubble. You have a bunch of data, and what we do is that I think this summarizes 30 years of data management, whatever. You move data, you store and compute it in a database, and a data warehouse, and a lake house, and all that stuff, right? It's all the same thing. You're storing and computing data. And then I use data in a BI tool and report and AI, machine learning, that's it. This is what data has been since the beginning of just enterprise digital in the 80s, basically. That's it, nothing has changed. Yes, it has changed, because moving is batch and streaming, right? We do ELT, ETL, right? We have now storage and compute that we've separated. We have, right, all that stuff has changed, but the technology effectively have been the same kind of patterns. What has been more explicit in the last 5 years has been the understand layer on top, right? This is where metadata and catalogs and quality and observability all has been coming in, connected to that. That is our world, and this is huge, this is big. There's a lot for us to keep we have to go deal with. But let's put this into perspective, our bubble. The enterprise, we are just one sliver, one of the silos of the functions of the enterprise. And there's not just one thing over there, there's multiple, right? I got my Snowflake and my Databricks and that stuff. You got multiple of these things. But then I also have IT. I have risk and security. I have all of these other functions right now. Let's put ourselves in perspective. We are just one of the different functions to do. And arguably, we're saying we're not actually like if you unplug this stuff, is the company still working? If you unplug IT, you plug all these other things, the company doesn't work. So we need to find our way of becoming much more mission critical and supporting this.
Well, and I think what's important, just before we transition to like, what's the solution? Like, what is the next wave for data teams? Is that as we try to adopt AI within our companies, these silos can't exist, right? The context that we need in order to have accurate, explainable, and impactful AI agents requires that we break these boundaries and bring together context in a more interoperable way. So how can we do that? And how are data teams going to help develop that?
So the vision here is really to start thinking about your enterprise, like that enterprise, what I call the enterprise brain, right? Or your operating system. I'll think about this. And so the analogy is literally, we want to be able to start representing all our businesses, which are the different functions, the business processes, the people, of course, the data, right? The knowledge about what things mean. And the notion of the brain is like, I perceive things, right? I have inputs, I sense things, and I process that, I take decisions, I act on that, and then I act it back to my environment, and something's going to change. So the vision here, and here's and I kind of thought is, imagine your organization, the C-suite, middle of the night, you're all sleeping, and then there is an earthquake that happens somewhere in Southeast Asia, in the middle of the night. You wake up in the morning, and what you automatically realize that just happened was that you have employees in that area, and automatically your system understands it, says, I have already checked on our employees to know who's doing well. 80% of our employees in that region have contacted us and they said that they have responded they're okay. We still haven't heard from 20% of the employees. We actually have we know our supply chain of everything. We know that earthquake, how things are going to affect. You wake up in the morning and you're saying, these things is what somebody should have done already been done. These are the things that need to be done, and we need to have somebody, here's different options we can go do right now. The human can go in and make these types of decisions and put it back. That's the type of world that the C-suite, the executive, the board are expecting to head towards. And guess what? What is in part of all of that? Data connects all of these things. the business processes connect to these things, understanding how things get connected. And I genuinely believe that we all here in the audience, the data people, the data community, are the ones who can own that.
Now, if we want organizations and people to be able to make decisions, there's actually a lot of frameworks that already exist in the world today to help understand this. And we actually are going to need to have the enterprise leverage these frameworks as part of this enterprise brain. And so one example is the OODA loop, OODA, which stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. And this is all about being able to do decision making and doing loops, right? Feedback loops. There's also the cybernetic feedback loop. There's the Sense, Think, Act. There's the MIT robotics framework. There's the Deming cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act. There's all these different frameworks out there on how to make decisions. What's important is that they always are looking at the inputs of the environment, orienting and understanding that context, making a decision, taking action, and there's a tight feedback mechanism. Also, there's things like the Cynefin framework, which is really more around how you categorize these different types of decisions. And I think this is really interesting because think about even your own self. When you face different situations in your life, sometimes it's something very simple, right? Something's rolling off the table, you grab it real quick, right? That's a very simple piece of logic that we can react to, and that's actually something that automations are quite good at today. But as things go from complicated to complex to chaotic, and let's be honest, the world is full of chaos, right? There's disorder, that these AI agents and our enterprises need to be able to react. There's not going to be any perfect data, perfect agent. It's about how do we react to the chaos and have a dynamic system. So frameworks like this are useful for that. And I think this is cool because it's actually a Welsh word, and it represents like that weird feeling that when you're home that you just feel like things are right. It's like a creepy rightness. Anyways, look more into this word because it's very interesting etymology. And then there's things like the DIKW pyramid or the knowledge and wisdom pyramid, which is about how we take information, the data, which is the realm that data teams tend to spend a lot of their time thinking about, and how we actually think about how that layers up to information, to knowledge, and to wisdom. And this is something that we as data professionals are going to have to think about as well, because we can't just deal with the plumbing anymore. The robots are going to deal with that. Those are the mundane tasks that are getting automated, right? How do we start to move up that pyramid?
And at the end of the day, this is just how we're going to manage our context. Now, we're giving you these three examples. We're not saying these are the three things to do. This is just taking this idea of like, if I have this brain of my organization, my enterprise, right? What is the inputs? What are the outputs? Or that stuff? And we're like, I mean, we've been talking about this stuff, and like, wait, obviously there's people been working on this stuff, and there's just so many frameworks. This is not new, right? So I think the opportunity here is to start looking about all these feedback loops, right? All these decision-making frameworks that we're doing that, because that is how analytics is going to evolve. And again, we have the power to really own that. And I think, in a way, this is what it's going to look like, or an idea about this, right? You have all your different functions, but then your brain has this particular, I need to sense things, my inputs, I need to reason about this stuff, figure out what to go do, and then I need to go act on it. So these are just examples of the kinds of things that fit into these different parts of this OODA loop or this decision framework, right? You have to sense and observe the world that's around you. You have to reason about that, and there's different mechanisms from the simple to the complex, the complicated to the chaotic in terms of how we synthesize those different senses and how we make sense of them and take actions around them, and then actually drive those actions, whether it's AI agents that's doing that work, workflows doing that work, automations, alerts. And then the core foundation across all of it is that context layer, right? It's your knowledge graph, it's your enterprise ontology, it's your metadata management, it's your governance. And this is really where the data stack is going. It's no longer a one-directional move, store, compute, use. It's a feedback loop that represents the organizational knowledge that you're going to be iterating on and being a steward of as the data team. Tim, where is the data analytics?
I don't know, where do they go?
Well, that's the whole point, is that the data analytics, they need to be supporting every single operating function, not just be another one which is not really providing that direct mission critical. This is how we become mission critical, because we will be at the foundation of every single function. You want that HR says, I cannot do my job without this, or I could do it, but then I am going to be so inefficient because I need more to do more. This is how we're going to achieve doing more with less. So to kind of wrap up, one of the things I have is, one of my favorite quotes is from Niels Bohr, who says there's two types of truths. There's a ordinary truth and a profound truth. An ordinary truth is one whose opposite is a falsehood. For example, database systems must be faster. No shit, Sherlock, of course, because if I say database systems need to be slower, that's false and that's dumb. So you just told me these platitudes. Garbage in, garbage out. Those are all platitudes. We go do that. A profound truth is one whose opposite is also a profound truth. So we want to close with what we believe are some profound truths, and you will be the judge with this, because I actually hope people kind of feel uncomfortable and disagree with us. So, number one, we should stop doing just analytics. If all you do is just go create dashboards and analytics, and you should stop doing that. You need to really start thinking about how to feedback those loops in analytics. If your goal is just to create a dashboard and you're doing that stuff, how are you providing the value to operations?
Yep.
You need to understand how you're doing that.
Disintermediate you.
What?
And probably AI is just going to do what you're doing.
Exactly.
Secondly, stop doing just BI semantic layers. Don't think of context as just the layer that sits between your dashboards and your database. Start building your enterprise ontology.
And this is you just saw yesterday or the day before, right? All the BI tools are putting out a new standard to go this stuff, even though they all had these different standards to do this. Semantics is not just for BI. It is not just for the dimensions, your facts, your measures. If that's all what you're doing, you are thinking about your sliver, that's it. The enterprise ontology are thinking about how do you go model your business? How do you model your supply chain? How do you model that? You want to be able to understand, do I have a supplier who actually is related to some blacklisted country? Because you need to understand, those types of stuff is what you need to be able to think about. That is because those are the questions that your risk and your procurement teams have every single day. That's how you're going to support them. Not just give me your data, I'll create something in dashboard and you can go look at that stuff. Stop doing just BI semantic layers. Think about enterprise ontologies.
And then last, stop staying in your bubble. Start co-designing goals and OKRs with the operating functions.
If you are not able to connect the work directly to an OKR, then you're doing it wrong, period. You need to be able to explain how that objective of your company is being achieved because of the work that you're doing. Because if you do not do that work, that objective will not be achieved. So you need to be part specifically of connecting your work to OKRs, objectives, key results. And if you don't know what OKRs are, guess what? That's your homework right now.
Yep. And one example of this alignment.
This is a snippet from my book and my good friend Ole, because it's not just me saying this, right? Other people are saying this. This is page 35 of his book, and it's very specifically, he says, in this chapter, you will look at all these classic IT departments like EMSs, IRs, CMDBs, ITSMs. If you do not know what these things are, guess what? Go talk to your IT colleagues and go figure out what that is and figure out how you guys can support each other. Mm-hmm. Here's another one, and this one, yes, I'm related to ServiceNow, that's why I liked it now, but it was really cool to see even people bringing up to Ole about it, saying, hey, I want to be able to connect stuff that is in ServiceNow with my data catalog. We're starting to, people are realizing that they need to start connecting the work that they're doing in the data world with different functions around that. So this is happening. And I go talk to Ole, he's in the back over there.
Yep.
Want to see it.
And it's read fundamentals of metadata management.
So, takeaways. Stop doing just analytics. Start creating those feedback loops for analytics operations. Stop doing just BI semantic layers. Think about enterprise ontologies. Get out of your bubble. Go connect directly to this business value. Connect your OKRs. Follow us on LinkedIn. Listen to our podcast. And come to our booth.
Yep.
Over there.
And we'll be hanging out over here. We ran out of time for questions, but we'd love to chat.
Thank you, everybody.